If I told you that back in the Middle Ages, the Islamic world was the absolute beacon of human civilization, would you believe it? Back then, the elite thought you couldn't even talk about high-level academics if you didn't know Arabic. But times changed, and after the dust settled on World War I, the once terrifying Ottoman Empire was blasted into pieces by Western artillery. For Muslims, this wasn't just a loss of land. It was the total collapse of their spiritual world. Facing this existential dread, countless Islamic elites asked a soul-crushing question. What happened to us? How did we get so weak? The first fiercely bold answer came from the founding father of modern Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. His logic was cold and brutal. Why did we lose? Because political Islam made our society soft and rigid. Facing the overwhelming dominance of the West, Ataturk drew his saber and launched a brutally radical secularization campaign. How hardcore were his methods? In 1924, he straight up abolished the thousand-year-old caliphate and completely dismantled the Islamic courts. No religious law? No problem. He just copied and pasted the Swiss Civil Code and the Italian Penal Code. He stripped the legal system of any Quranic legitimacy, putting absolute power in the hands of the secular state. Culturally, he went even further. In 1928, Ataturk scrapped the centuries-old Arabic script, replacing it entirely with the Latin alphabet. Remember, Arabic was the language of divine revelation. Banning it effectively severed the Turkish people from their massive archives of Islamic tradition. On top of that, he pushed for linguistic purification, forcibly replacing Arabic and Persian words with Turkic ones. In daily life, he banned officials from wearing the traditional Ottoman fez, pushed for Western clothing, introduced Western holidays and timekeeping, and granted women the right to vote and receive an education. Ataturk used this extreme, forced westernization to rebuild Turkey from the ground up as a modern secular state. This path saved Turkey's independence, but it left a deep, unhealed scar in the hearts of countless traditional Muslims. While Turkey was sprinting toward total westernization, a different group in 1920s Egypt came up with the exact opposite answer. A young man named Hassan al-Banna watched Muslim elites copying European lifestyles with absolute disgust. His conclusion was the polar opposite of Ataturk's. We were defeated by the West precisely because we became too westernized and abandoned our true Islamic roots. So, al-Banna founded an organization that would profoundly alter Middle Eastern history, the Muslim Brotherhood. He pointed out sharply that Islam was being twisted by Western individualism. He argued that the West sneakily confined religion to the mosque, turning it into a private faith of praying 5 times a day and fasting during Ramadan, tricking people into accepting the separation of church and state. But true, original Islam, he argued, was a comprehensive way of life encompassing law, economic ethics, social organization, and political authority. To fight the West, the Brotherhood wasn't just a study group. From day one, it was a massive social movement. By building mosques, schools, and charities at the grassroots level, they aimed to fully restore Islamic ethics and eventually build a political order based on Sharia law. Al-Banna, and later Islamists, pushed a conspiracy theory. The reason the West uses America and Israel to corrupt us is that they are terrified that if Islam regains its collective power, like in the Prophet's era, it will conquer the world again. Their ultimate conclusion? Islam isn't the problem. Islam is the solution. This was the true birth of modern Islamism. Make no mistake, this isn't some ancient feudal relic. It is a purely modern ideology, just like other isms, designed as a political blueprint to solve a modern crisis. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and a massive new storm swept across the Middle East, trying to ditch religion entirely and find a new way forward. Egypt's strongman president, Gamal Abdel Nasser, rode the crest of this wave. The vanguard behind this grand 30-year illusion were young, Western-educated military officers preaching pan-Arabism. During the post-World War II wave of decolonization, he pitched a highly charismatic vision of secular nationalism. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim or Christian. As long as we speak Arabic and share the same history, we are one great political community. Through massive propaganda, diplomatic maneuvering, and revolutionary rhetoric, Nasser styled himself as the absolute leader of the entire Arab world. He stood up to Western imperialism, aggressively nationalizing the Suez Canal and taking it right out of British and French hands. This movement was so feverish that in 1958, Egypt and Syria actually merged into a single sovereign state called the United Arab Republic. Those were the most blood-pumping years for the Arabs. People naively believed that, unified by their Arab identity, with the destruction of Israel as their rallying cry, they could return to the top of the world. But the iron fist of reality slammed down in 1967. In the Six-Day War, fueled by U.S. funds and weapons, the Israeli military obliterated the combined forces of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan in a matter of days, completely destroying the Egyptian Air Force. Across the vast Sinai Desert, destroyed Arab tanks lay everywhere, spewing plumes of desperate black smoke. This devastating, crushing defeat totally shattered all illusions of Arab unity. The grand narrative of pan-Arabism went bankrupt in blood, and as Egypt signed a peace treaty with Israel in 1979, abandoning its role as the Big Brother, this path of secular national revival was officially dead. The Middle East plunged back into a massive vacuum of faith. Just as the Arab world was hitting rock bottom, next door, Iran was running a century-long experiment. Over the past 100 years, since 1925, it swallowed both the extreme secularization and extreme Islamization pills. Established in 1925, 2 generations of the Pahlavi dynasty frantically copied Turkey's Ataturk. They went all in on industrialization and westernization, even forcing women to take off their hijabs and launching the massive White Revolution. But Iran's narrative logic was entirely different from the Arabs. In the eyes of the Pahlavi Shahs, thoroughly westernizing Iran wasn't a betrayal of their ancestors, it was returning to their true selves. Why? Because in their national mythos, the Persian Empire was the ultimate source of all great Western civilization. They claimed the concept of human rights came from Cyrus the Great, and many Christian ideas stemmed from Persian Zoroastrianism. They believed Iranians were the original Aryans. While Hitler's Europe was obsessing over Aryan blood, the Iranians proudly thought, "We are the daddies of Western civilization." Therefore, Westernization was simply making Persia great again. But this intensely romanticized Westernization, completely ignoring religious tradition, ultimately planted the dynamite for an incoming megastorm. In 1979, the Iranian social volcano fully erupted. After Ayatollah Khomeini seized power, he utterly smashed the Pahlavi's Aryan narrative and completely flipped the script. The West is not the solution. The West is the root of all evil. Khomeini established a regime completely unprecedented in human history, the Islamic Republic. It was a wildly contradictory mashup. Islamic implied absolute theocracy, while republic was a modern concept imported from the West. They forcibly stitched these two completely incompatible systems together, demanding that a massive 20th century nation be governed by medieval religious law. Looking back at this epic, agonizing century, the Islamic world has basically swallowed every cure available. From Turkey's total westernization, to Egypt's pan-Arab rush, to Iran's theocratic backlash, they've swung wildly between extremes. Embracing the West requires you to pretend that Western plunder and nihilism don't exist. Rejecting the West requires you to hallucinate a perfect, uncorrupted, ancient Islamic utopia that never actually existed. Looking back at this century of suffering, whether totally embracing or totally rejecting the West, both inherently require an incredibly naive romanticization. Any civilization in the world that can only maintain its identity by whining about external bullying while refusing to face its real internal crises is doomed to face a long, brutal winter. A century has passed, and this ancient land is still turbulent. In today's deeply fractured era, do you think the Islamic world can still find its own third way out?